A lot of the time there is this question about counterfactuals. Is there, which obviously comes to the RCTs, but do you know or have a counter argument of how we can do counterfactuals with socially complex change? Instead, like obviously I totally agree, I think RCTs are totally stupid in behavioural change situations, but what I see as a common practice is, for example, with ActionAid we use a lot of participatory methodologies, but we're asking the people we're doing the intervention with, and we're not asking the people we're not doing the intervention with, and therefore, you know, you're not seeing the whole picture either. So there is a tendency to be one way or the other. And I was wondering your opinion on like other types of counterfactuals.
Well, this is a terrific question, and I think this is a methodological frontier, which is a polite and self-defensive way of saying I haven't got a bloody idea. No, but I do think it's a methodological frontier, and I think the area to explore is ask them. You know, there are these two slogans, which, if you pick up nothing else from today, or you may know it already, they can do it, and ask them. So my suggestion would be to ask people themselves, and to ask them to interpret causality, and there are some examples of people themselves interpreting causality here, and possibly having discussions with people who come from counterfactual environments. It is a frontier, I think, and I think it would be really, really good if it could be explored, because it could provide a credible and possibly much more valid alternative to these huge RCT control groups. Yes?
Just following up on that reflection. For example, usually what we're facing in care, it's like there are different projects happening in the same area, although different projects have different objectives. So is there space and scope to share information and share data and see what approach? So instead of having a control group that does not receive anything, rather having like sort of a landscape of sharing information across organizations in specific areas, and to see if that, although the nature of the intervention it will be different, but maybe that kind of differentials can be discussed about.
From the activities that different organizations are doing in similar domains. So if there are like similar climate change projects in a specific area, what are the impacts and how are people measuring it, and is there a scope for that sort of exchange of knowledge based on the different set of activities, instead of having we deliver activities and we do not deliver activities. That seems more ethical kind of concern as well behind.
Yes, I think that's a very nice idea. And I mean that entails collaboration between organisations. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's.
I still don't think that's a counterfactual though.
Yeah.
But and also like when you're on the ground, really, is there that much difference between INGOs? I would argue no. So many of the methodologies are very similar. But I do think there is a way. I mean, there must be a way of talking to more people to get those ideas.
Right? The inputs will be different from project to project. You don't think so?
I don't know.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Okay, I hope I will not start like a big discussion, but I think the issue of the counterfactual, there are some theories that answer this question, but in my view is an epistemological nonsense, because you have on a side the concept of attribution and contribution, and somehow in project theory you mix them up, and then you think, oh, this is my project, and my project will deliver that. Therefore, the change that has happened in a certain community has happened because of my project, and this is not true. We know that your control, your sphere of control, and that output, the impact is something that happened because you are just contributing to something, and to so many other factors that are completely not under your control. So if we assume that the impact happens, yeah, definitely we are contributing to something, but then the reason why a change has happened has other 100 reasons, then having a counterfactual is
Irrelevant.
is irrelevant.
Yeah.
What is interesting to know is, okay, this area that had a project or a program, somehow understanding the reason of why that change happened, and understanding the reason of why in a hypothetical control group a change also has happened. But for me, it's much more a matter of how change happens in two different contexts than, oh, that change has happened because of my program. It's not.
Yeah, coming into this is, I mean, if we take this word, where is it? Judgment. We tend to underestimate the value of judgment. And judgment seems to me to be critical in complex situations. But it's not regarded as being rigorous by the people who have monopolized or appropriated the term rigor. And so we have to articulate a rigor which includes judgment and reflex. Is reflexivity a word you're comfortable with? Again, it's another word that I didn't like to use for a long time because I was afraid someone would ask me. But reflexivity, in my interpretation of reflexivity, but you will have yours and please contribute, is reflecting back on oneself and one's own mindset and one's own judgment and one's own values. So it's looking in the mirror, if you like. Reflexivity is looking in the mirror. So if you're making a judgment, one of the things that it may be useful to do is to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm making this judgment. What is there in myself which is biasing my view and biasing my judgment? One suggestion has been made that every academic article that's published should start with a self-confession on the part of the author or authors about their own mindsets. I started doing that, but it became horribly repetitive and rather formalistic because I didn't think that my biases changed very much. And so I stopped doing it. But it is a question. When you're reading an article, you want to know, where is this person coming from? And including what is their background discipline. And I've learnt that I'm pretty sure that I can detect anything written by an engineer from the language. And I'm not against engineers at all. They're wonderful, very, very important people. And then I've got my own language as well. Have you ever used Wordle? Wordle? Who's used Wordle? This is the word cloud thing. Oh, look, do this. If you Google for Wordle, W-O-R-D-L-E, Wordle, you just Google for it, and then you'll get the program. And then anything you've written, or somebody else has written, you simply feed it in and press a button, and you come out with a word cloud. You've seen these word clouds. You know, a politician makes a speech at a party conference or something, and they do a Wordle. And it's fascinating because you can see the words which they're using repeatedly, the concepts which they're trying to embed, and which are significant for them. So if you do this for anything you've written yourself, it's quite revealing because there were sort of favourite words that I thought I was using a lot, you know, rather good words like explore, and so I'm hardly using them at all. So it throws you back on yourself. Wordle, W-O-R-D-L-E. I encourage students to do that in IDS because of what it can show oneself about one's own vocabulary, concepts, ways in which we frame things, ways in which we categorize things. And again, in my view, every university course should have a session at the end to reflect on the words and concepts and the mindsets which have been formed by the course, so that there's a degree of reflexivity built into university education. Dream on. It won't happen, I'm afraid.